Hi all, and welcome back to the channel. This is Chronos The New Dawn. In this video, I want to focus on what the game is and what you can expect. I'll keep my own opinion for a later video. I always try to split these out, but since I normally avoid horror games, I think it's worth giving a bit more context this time. I'm not a hardcore horror player. Normally, these games are way too scary for me. Yes, indeed, I'm a small little child. Anyway, Chronos kept coming back up because players rate it much higher than the press, so I wanted to see why. What I found is that this isn't really about jump scares, it's more about tension, atmosphere, and dread. That made it something I could actually play. In this video, I'll cover the combat, the fear and horror elements, the old-school design choices, and the story and world building. As always, I want to do this without wasting your time with needless filler. So let's start with what it is. Chronos The New Dawn is a third-person survival horror set in an alternate 1980s. You play as a traveler, sent back in time by a group called the Collective to harvest souls and uncover why the world collapsed. The gameplay is tense. You fight with makeshift weapons and scarce guns, and the main twist is that enemies don't stay dead. If you don't burn their bodies, they merge into bigger, stronger abominations. Combat is deliberate, but every fight carries extra weight because you know a corpse left behind can come back even worse. It gives you the resource pressure of a Resident Evil game mixed with the body horror of Dead Space and the atmosphere of Silent Hill.
The real hook, though, is how the game uses fear. The monsters are literally made from fused human bodies, still twitching and screaming. And the sound design never lets you relax. You hear whispers, distorted voices, and sometimes the people whose souls you carry will haunt you directly. Even simple exploration feels tense because environments shift around you, and the world always feels hostile. It doesn't rely on jump scares as much as other horror games. Instead, it builds its fear through creeping dread, guilt, and the sense that you're always too late. That's why I could handle it. It's scary, but it isn't constantly hitting you with loud stingers. Chronos also avoids modern hand-holding. There are no difficulty options, no endless hints, and very little guidance. You'll often be thrown into areas where the only way forward is to explore, pay attention, and survive. The spaces themselves are quite linear, so you will eventually find the path, but the tension comes from being forced to move carefully through each corridor. I know this comes from a horror game noob perspective, but I did feel it was quite difficult, and I mean that in a good way, because it really enhances the feeling of needing to be smart with your bullets and resources. I know this is a bit more of an opinion than I normally give, but for a game like this, I felt it was too important not to mention. You'll backtrack, and you'll probably die, but that design is intentional. It's about keeping you sharp, making sure you burn every corpse, and forcing you to conserve every bullet. This is where some players will bounce off, but for others, this is the whole appeal. It's also a well-paced, fairly focused experience. A standard run will take around 15 to 20 hours, while chasing every secret or running New Game Plus can stretch it past 25. That length fits the style well, keeping the tension high without dragging things out.
Performance is mostly fine too. I did run into some small hitches and the odd animation glitch, but nothing that broke the flow. It has its janky moments, but it's absolutely playable. Now, last but not least, let's talk about the story. It builds on that constant pressure. You're traveling through brutalist ruins, collapsed hospitals, and fog-choked streets, while carrying the souls of people you've harvested. Those souls grant you powers, but they also drag you down with their voices and memories. The deeper you go, the more it feels like reality itself is fraying. Time warps, visions bleed into the present, and it's never clear whether what you're seeing is real or a crack in your mind. The game leans on Cold War imagery, but it keeps things symbolic, using this alternate 1980s setting to explore collapse, memory, and the cost of trying to change fate. So to wrap it up, Chronos The New Dawn is a survival horror that mixes slow, punishing combat with the constant threat of enemies returning, forces you to think and explore without hand-holding, fills its world with grotesque and disturbing imagery, and tells a heavy story about time, memory, and guilt. It feels like a blend of Silent Hill, Dead Space, and Resident Evil, but with more focus on atmosphere than on jump scares. It's not about action spectacle. It's about atmosphere, dread, and how long you can hold your nerve before the world or your mind breaks. And if you're wondering why critics on average review it lower than players, it's mostly about expectations. Critics looked at it as a straight horror game and said it wasn't scary enough, while players see it as a game about tension and atmosphere, and that's why it connects differently. That's everything you need to know for now. If you like videos that don't waste your time, please consider liking and subscribing.